What's up, good fighters? Is this our first Thoughtful Thursday?
Might be.
First Thoughtful Thursday, y'all. That means we're coming in with connection, intention, and purpose. Innate, we trust for today. Yo, real quick, Dr. Nash, I wanted to open this up real quick before we dive in deep, okay?
Do it.
So this Dr. Brett Jones, he had like, you know how they did like the little flashback thing on Facebook, where it like shows you a post you did a while back. Anyways, he like commented on one he did a while back. And it says, as a service to humanity, I help increase the expression of life force in all things living. I facilitate the natural ability for the body to heal by removing blockages of energy and restoring communication to the innate wisdom residing in each and every one of us. I am chiropractor. I saw that this morning. I was like, boom, I love it.
Dude, same.
Sick. Wanted to start off with that, set that intention for today. Just, I am a chiropractor.
I am a human being, not a human doer.
Doer.
Right?
Human doer.
I'm not a human doer. I'm a being.
Human being.
Whatever you want to manifest, right?
Yes, sir. All
Light,
day, every day.
Healing, facilitating, whatever, man.
Love it.
I kind of have something cool. So this comes from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life. So
yeah.
So he says it like this. So leaves change more quickly than trees, and trees more quickly than forests. The leaf, when perceived, might blind the observer to the tree. The tree can blind him to the forest. What do you think about that, Gabe?
You want to read it one more time?
Yeah. So
it might be a little deep for 9 o'clock in the morning.
No, that's all right. So,
I didn't double think that one.
So leaves change more quickly than trees, and trees more quickly than forests. The leaf, when perceived, might blind the observer to the tree. The tree can blind him to the forest. So I think that's, to me, it's really easy to get fixated on like the small things and lose sight of the big picture, right? Like that's like at very face value, that's what I get out of it. But
when you read it that second time, it definitely clicked in that way to get focused on not only the little things, but then you lose sight of the bigger picture. You lose sight of the big idea of what is going on around you. And when I think about like a forest or a tree or different things like that, like if you're focusing on those little things, you oftentimes lose sight of the beauty that's around you. Because while a leaf is beautiful and while a tree is beautiful in their own way, like that forest as a whole is a whole conglomerate of just like nature entirely. And if you lose sight of that, it's very easy to focus in on things that really don't matter.
I think that's like a pretty good analogy for not just like the way we view health in society, or like society's been like attacking health, right? Like it's been viewed as like a battleground that like physicians need to battle against disease when disease isn't like it's an entity, right? And even larger than that, like as like human beings, how we're viewing our territory, like the world, right? Like I feel like in a global sense, we lose sight of how connected we are to like the forest, right? Like we focus on just like ourselves as like the leaves, and we even lose sight of just the tree of life. And like the tree is a part of the grand forest of a cosmic being, right? So in a way, I think like that disconnect really causes a lot of problems, and like the solutions are to really not add more, but to like remove stuff from the being and like be able to that larger picture and that larger viewpoint. So
the biggest lesson that I learned that from was actually weightlifting, because so oftentimes, and you know this too, like so oftentimes you'll get guys that go out there and they'll lift 6-7 times a week, and it'll be like either hundreds of reps or just trying to do too much at one time and within the space. And where I really found myself get like the best results was when I simplified. And I simplified it down to just like, okay, here's some core lifts that I want to do to be able to, focus on specific areas that actually apply to me and not get too caught up in all this, that, and the other thing. So simplifying it down to be able to recognize, okay, like I can get caught up in the next best supplement or the next best like lift or the next best like thing. But when you simplify it, like Bruce Lee talks about, like when you simplify your life, you get way better results and way better intention too. Connection, intention, purpose, right?
Oh yeah, connection, intention, purpose, bro, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, even talk about weightlifting too, man. I mean, even if your goal is to, like, let's say your goal is really superficial and you really want to get bigger biceps, are you just gonna work out your biceps and nothing else? Like, is that just like is that the only route to? Is that the
Some
best?
People just do the curls for the girls, man, all day.
Well, I mean, I guess you can do that, but yeah, I think the evidence is pretty clear that that training regimen is not going to be effective, right? Like
Right.
you gotta train your whole body to be able to like inherently adapt to stress, and like there's so much more to just growing muscle than just really working on that one thing, that one
Yeah.
movement. And
Yeah.
I think that the evidence of that, just like that philosophy of the leaf, the tree, and the forest, like you can apply it to just about anything, and your results
Yeah.
are that much more powerful and really
Well,
solve a lot of
and
issues that you know, health wise, right? Like that's like the medicine. That's what medicine is really founded on. Is really trying to take care of the leaf when you're not
yeah.
even looking at the tree, let alone the forest, of like how to, mental health, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a forest thing. Like what are we doing with our forest?
Yeah.
How are we treating the forest? Like how are we? Why are certain parts of the forest getting more light than some, and why are some, not getting enough water? Like just literally like that analogy to me just speaks volumes. So I really
Well, I
like.
think it even pervades into the entire system. There's not only a disconnect in the way that it's being cared for, but a disconnect between, I guess you could say, the specialists, right?
Oh,
Because we have all these specialists and we have all these people that are geniuses at their desired portion or organ, I guess you could say, without taking into account its effect on any other stuff. Like you look at the baby aspirin, take a baby aspirin a day, which might be good for the heart in their eyes, but then we look at stroke, blood vessels outside of the heart itself, it's not good at all. Like it instantly takes away everything that's supposed to be foundational there.
I can't remember the exact quote from Sigafoos, but he says something along the lines of like, how ridiculous does it sound that like, you know, everybody like all heart disease is due to a lack of aspirin.
Then
Like,
we'd be coming out of the womb with a heart disease.
yeah, are we supposed to be born with bottles of aspirin in our hand? Like,
Yeah, man. Don't you know that's where health comes from?
I guess so. Like, that's the solution, man. I guess, but I don't know. That's something like I think that's A, hilarious, and B, like once you say that to somebody, it's like, yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like why?
Mm.
I don't know.
Why do we do what we do?
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those things where like, did we talk about this last time or just like maybe not, but we talk a lot about like ear infections and different things or just allergies in general. Do you have your lymph nodes and like adenoids and stuff?
I was unfortunate enough to have my tonsils removed at the age of 4.
You did get them removed.
At the age of
So,
4, and I did have allergy problems up and through from the time I was like maybe 14 to like.
yeah, so you still had issues. That's whack.
I know, right?
Dang. First, yeah, that freaking sucks, bro. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But I was gonna say, like, we touch on it here. I was talking to somebody the other day. I was like, okay, how many organs do you have to remove to be healthy? Like, it shouldn't be anything.
Yeah, right.
But it sounds so weird. It's like, how many organs do you have to remove to be healthy? Yet we remove organs all the time that aren't even the main factor for it. It's just where it would reside. So,
And I've already kind of said this before, but like, we're born with living functional organs in our body. 99 times out of 100. Might be one where somebody is born with some, reduction in, regardless, most times we're born with healthy organs, right? How does a healthy living organ get to this point where it needs to be removed? What's wrong? It's not alive anymore, right? It's dead. That's why they need to remove it.
Right.
How does a living organ die in a living body?
How did you get to that point in the first place? Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference between that organ right there and that other tissue next to it? Why is the life force into that?
I love that.
Organ, right? Yeah. So,
man on the bench, just like Didi talks about. What do you think is like? I mean, we can talk about COVID too, but like, what do you think is like the biggest leaf that we focus on today?
Biggest.
We can talk about COVID, but that's such an obvious like cliche thing.
Yeah. I guess like just from just like thinking about day-to-day life and how people view health, the biggest leaf I feel like is I think it's almost got to be pain, right? Like if you don't have pain, you're healthy in a way. Like
so true.
From symptomatology, like even if like people are having like all right, this is pretty anecdotal, but like even just hearing like I'm thinking more functional, like people going to the bathroom, like it's pretty normal, healthy to be regular, like pooping every day, right? Like stories of people who like, oh yeah, I poop like once a week or like once every 5 days type stuff. And is that healthy because they don't have pain? Some people would argue yes, but like in a way, I feel like pain's like one of the biggest benchmarks for what health is for a lot of people and society in general.
That's so true. We'll have to talk about the brain-body diagram on here one time. I just see Leilani's like a little tuft of hair right there.
Just poking through.
That's so true, man. Because like if people are in pain, they don't register that something's wrong. Which like is like we want pain to figure out if something's wrong. Like I'm not saying we have to take that out of the body or anything like that.
No.
But the function of the body, the function of the body is where it kind of comes into play. And so many people, and I talked about this with Dr. Erica a little while back. Like she was one of those girls who like, she worked out all the time. Like she's not obese or anything like that. Like she ate healthy. By all means, she's healthy, right? But like her functionality of her body wasn't. And she wasn't necessarily in any pain, but functionally wise, like something wasn't working right. And that should be the benchmark. That's our par, not necessarily. Did we talk about this like a couple episodes ago? Like we compare sick to sick. Like it's like, oh, I'm not as sick as somebody else, so then totally I'm healthy.
Yeah.
So we get caught up in that game. Well, I don't have back pain, so I'm healthier than that guy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you might be losing life force to your kidneys.
And I mean, unless you have kidney stones, your kidneys don't really hurt. Like you don't have like or like your thyroid. Like if your thyroid isn't working, thyroid doesn't elicit pain. You have a painful thyroid, right? So
that's true.
That is like it's a useful tool for our body in a way, but like only 10% of our nervous system is even dedicated to nociception, so pain receptors, which is for obvious reasons, right? We have so many other functions to regulate and maintain in the body that pain is just a very small portion of the spectrum.
Yeah, we're focusing on that little thing that's not even a huge part of the nervous system, that 10% of the entire forest.
Yeah.
And I think I like what Sigfu says too, since you brought him up earlier.
Mm.
He talks about like when he adjusts somebody, especially like he used the mid back as an example, and the nerves that flow through the heart, like T1 through is it T1 through T4?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm too close. I'm too far removed from school already. I need to study that merit chart. But when he adjusts somebody there, he's like, man, your heart really needed that, like, and just kind of changing patients' perception of pain. Like, oh, I didn't really have any pain there, but like my nerve does go to my heart, and that's not something you want to be having your hose kinked to your heart, right?
Totally. And I mean, in the grand symphony of our body, the orchestrator, the brain, right? Like, why would would you like basically put a curtain over certain functions of that orchestra so they don't understand the symphony?
Can't flow, yeah.
I mean, why would you put that over any part of it, especially important parts like your heart and your liver, right? Like, most people don't understand the significance of the liver, but some would argue that, like, if you actually understand the functions of the body, liver is one of the most important organs of the entire system.
Yeah, it's one of the most important. It's also one of the most regenerative.
Yeah,
Which
right.
is really cool. How you can remove a portion of your liver and it'll regenerate.
What's that epigram at school? Depends on the liver, right? I forget what the first pass.
Oh, how does one live? It depends on the liver.
Yeah. That one's A, super clever, B, hilarious.
I always love that one because it's like right before you're about to walk out on the Brady.
Yeah.
Oh, is life worth living? That depends upon the liver.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah, you read that thing, you walk on to Brady, and you're like in some deep
Is life worth it?
smoked by a car. Or almost
smoked by a car. Did you ever hear about how Brady Street used to be the one way, and then they switched it to 2 lanes at one point, and it just like confused the mess out of students, so they had to switch it back to 1 way?
I've heard they're switching it back to 2-way.
Again?
Yeah.
Fools.
Yep.
That'd be a whole lot more accidents there.
Yeah, glad we got out of there. You got to use the skywalk.
You ever see anybody driving down the opposite way on Brady though?
Yes.
There's a big handful of people that still go down the wrong way.
And the closer you get to the skywalk, the more dangerous it's getting, right? Because it's pretty blind, and you're going like 40 up that thing. Most people, a lot of people go like 60.
Yeah, they're flying.
Yeah.
Is life worth living? Depends on the liver. And if your liver is not getting full life force, then what's going on down there, man?
Totally. I had this other kind of cool part out of 12 Rules of Life. So 12 Rules of Life is by Jordan Peterson, for everybody that doesn't know. I think he's MD, but he's also he's just like really down to earth guy. That
just brilliant.
Yeah. They kind of describe him as like a cowboy early in the book, but so
in his own book, he describes himself as a cowboy?
No, he has like a foreword that's written by somebody.
Oh, I gotcha.
But yeah, right. Like
I was gonna say, hey, that's how you
self-proclaimed cowboy.
Yeah.
But there's this little I have stuff highlighted that I liked. So he has this part that says emotion is partly bodily expression and can be amplified or dampened by that expression. And then he goes into, because you're not only a body, you're a spirit. So standing up physically also implies and invokes and demands standing up metaphysically.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I just read that type of stuff in Becoming Supernatural by Dispenza.
Hell yeah.
He touches on the same thing. Like your emotions have that. They're linked. They're not disconnected.
And 5 Rings by Musashi, part of he kind of talks about spirit's huge in that. So in embodying the spirit of the thing itself is what he says a lot. So that really is a way of him talking about your being, right? Kind of like your principles and what you stand up for, but also your spirit is an extension of um, not like an energy field around you, but in a way it kind of is, like kind of
Yeah.
like like your perception, right? Like if you're perceiving yourself as like a larger, stronger, not person, but what am I trying to say?
Forest.
Yeah, forest, I guess. Yeah, but force,
Yeah.
in a way, like that's what's really important, and that's how you can, like, you have people who are, I mean, and thinking more of like in a fight, right? Like, really, like you hear about, like, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight. It's the
Right.
size of the fight in the dog, and that it's a similar concept where it's that inner strength, and that's where you can define fortitude in a way.
Right.
Um,
Do you think you can embody the spirit of chiropractic, or is it more of an embodiment of the spirit of the life force, would you say?
I mean, I almost think they go hand in hand, like almost
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a cop out answer, but I that's one thing that BJ always talks about is it's not a modality, and it's not a healing art. It's like a way of life, or like that's the best way that I could really even describe it.
Yeah.
Because
Well, part of what made me ask that is because you touched on like the spirit being made of principles, right? And we have a lot of principles in chiropractic that we adhere to, and that's why I asked that, because I think we can embody that both one and the same, especially if we're adhering to those principles. Then, yeah,
when you have those instances where, like, you're always like manifesting you're always able to, like, kind of perform what you're subconsciously thinking or doing. Like, I always think of, like, if you've ever been driving and, like, you're like going like on that autopilot mode, you're like,
yeah.
you just kind of like snap out, like, whoa,
How
I've been
did I get
for like
there?
20 minutes. Yeah, like, where am I at? And, like, in a way, that to me is like super powerful, because that's you're operating on a level that you obviously, like, subconsciously know you're driving, and you put a lot of hours into it, right? Like, you just by this day and age, most people who are, by the time they're 27, they've been driving for a while. So
Yeah,
to me, like, having a mental attitude in a way that, like, even if you're struggling with, like, self-doubt and stuff like that, to really just, like, really, like, try to, like, trick yourself, or just, like, keep telling yourself that, like, you're not a weak person, and you have,
right.
and, like, just like all those, like, positive things, you eventually start embodying that. Like, you start literally, metaphysically, you start expressing that in a way that, like, even though you're not actively trying to manifest that, like, you are subconsciously doing that at the same time.
You got to build the belief.
Right.
When you build that belief, then it becomes ingrained in you. Yeah. Even, like, because they have the studies on, like, if you just smile, like, you have physical and emotional changes that start to present itself, even though, like, you're not laughing at anything, maybe you're not even, like, happy, but if you just start smiling throughout your day, then it has that change, which is astounding. I think that's a huge piece of evidence. I mean, like, if you can do that with smiling, then what else can you do?
Yeah. And mistreating yourself has a lot of consequences. Like, there are a lot more consequences to beating yourself up and to really being hard on yourself than what you might really give credit for.
Right.
Because it's just a small thing at that time, but it really can have that, like, compounding interest of just, like, wow, I feel like I have no worth because I didn't clean my apartment today, or just, like, little things that just, like, man, I really treated that person, like, not the way I should have, or I knew I was in the wrong there, and, like, I just,
Yeah.
stuff like that can really eat at your soul in a way. So
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even, like, both of us just starting practice dealing with patients, like, sometimes I can too. You start to take on attributes of maybe their life or their stress and stuff, and you just can't, especially if you're trying to be that lighthouse, you can't.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, honestly.
And kind of going back to what you were saying when you asked me between like chiropractic and was it life force?
Yeah.
How did you word that?
Yeah, just like the spirit of chiropractic or
Yeah.
spirit of life force.
So there's Frederick. He's a German philosopher. Frederick starts with an N. Not even gonna try to pronounce it. He said, "I'm not even gonna try."
Not even gonna try that.
He says, "He whose life has a why can bear almost anyhow." And I think that really embodies chiropractic. I think that right there is like, if you're a chiropractor, like that really like you're really in it for the service of your fellow man and serving out of a place of love and doing for others what you would do for your greatest loved one. That's the power, right? Like that's really embodying what chiropractic is, and it doesn't have to be through every adjustment, right? Like you don't need to just that doesn't happen through just adjustments. Like that just comes through, even interactions you have with people, in the line getting coffee. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I say that a lot, but like I always have stuff that I can work on. I know that like I have my own vices in a way that like I'm not using them as like a crutch, but in a way, my why like allows me to bear those tough times and like those right. So
yeah. No, that's huge. I love that quote because I first heard that quote actually from this guy who had done, it was like 50, so he did 50 Ironmans in 50 days in all 50 states.
Wow.
Yeah. He's actually called Iron Cowboy. So,
Iron Man? Like, is that Tony Stark?
Seriously, freaking might be. His story is wild, man. Like toenails falling off, like passing out, going through hurricanes, like wild. Yeah,
kept going, dude.
He just kept plugging, and that was his main quote. Like he who has his life can bear almost anyhow.
Totally.
That stuck with me because, like, yeah, you and I both know, like, opening practice isn't easy. Talking to patients isn't easy, especially when like you want so much for them, and sometimes they might not want them for themselves. So.
Totally. You can't like really underestimate that power of vision and direction, right?
Yeah.
If you got vision and you have a direction that you're moving with that vision, that's power right there. Like like that guy, man. In a way that you're gonna have you have those mental battles that are tough, that you're gonna have that self doubt, but as long as you have that why behind you with a little bit of vision and direction, dude, you can move mountains with that. That's the stuff that you can really make some really long lasting changes with people.
And it's not going to be everybody, and you gotta have to like
perfect
be okay with that.
Yes. Oh shoot, I gotta find it really quick because that's really really good. I might have it right here because that one kind of works. But oh, there it is. Okay, I got it. So, Carl Rogers. Have you heard of him?
No, I don't think so.
So he's another psychologist. So he said he believes it's impossible to start a therapeutic relationship if the person seeking help did not want to improve. And
well, I mean, shoot, yeah, Hippocrates said that way back too. Got to be willing to take away what's made you sick in the first place.
Right. And, it kind of goes off of what we were talking about earlier this week too, with like, you in a way you can lead somebody to he lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And like, that's exactly true.
I think that's going to be like our catchphrase of opening an office, and just tell every student that, man.
Happens a lot.
You seriously can. Like, I just can't even say it enough, man. Like, oh, you gotta go?
Oh yeah, time's up.
Okay. All right, brother. Hey, what was I gonna say?
Good fighters.
Connection, intention, purpose, fire. No, wait. Thoughtful Thursday today. I will see
I'll see you
you.
tomorrow.